Welcome to Frozen Cleveland for the appropriately titled Nike Freeze Fest to see two 17 Elite boys back in action after a couple weeks hiatus. Last seen down in Nashville winning the first installment of the boys' Midwest Point Series, I believe is the name of that. Nicely done. In the holiday, some of the boys hit the beach last weekend in Clearwater at the AVP East Coast Championships. Riley and his partner Eduardo out of South Florida came away with a big win there. Takai also in the field. I'm going to go out on a limb and say I much prefer the previous venue. No offense to our lovely hosts here in Cleveland, but the frozen tundra, not quite the same as the beautiful sun-kissed beaches of Clearwater. All right. We are short a couple today. Caden out. I'm not sure what the return to action plan is there. That's just a bit long. And Colin tweaked an ankle in Clearwater, also in the field. Actually ended up winning 16s despite a gimpy leg. He is not here in Cleveland with us, but should be back in Louisville next week for the big Louisville Invitation. I think that'll be the last tournament of the year before we take the holiday break, and we'll reconvene in January. Briley tips over the top. That's covered. Our opponents here in this first pool play match are Cleveland Volleyball Club. They're located here. Phoenix Volleyball Club, located here in Cleveland. So they woke up in their own beds, most likely. Keep an eye on Parker, who drove through the night after a basketball game. So he got no bed rest, just car rest, which I think is kind of like the inverse of dog years. A year in human life is like 7 years in dog years. I think an hour of car sleep is like 20 minutes of bed sleep. Anywho, some translation there. Nice work out of the middle. I'm still trying to get eyes on a scoreboard. Finally tracked one down. We're tied at 3. Chundered into the net 4-3 C2 lead. We've got 3 games on tap for today. This one, of course, be back in action at 10, and then a 2-match break before finishing the day off at the 1 o'clock slot. Overall, number 1 seed in the tourney. Your C2 17-1 lead. Touched on the way out. Point C2. Pushes the lead to 5-3. Exciting time of year for volleyball with the clouds on the way up. Glad to see the Cats and the Cards moving on. Cats into the round of 16 rather, with a win over UCLA last night. Cards into the round of 32 they'll play later today. A host of others, but just touching base on the ones of local interest. Unfortunately, WKU and Xavier, I believe, are both exited the tournament. Dang, it's a 6 serving 4. Off the block and out of play. Well, apparently any number of signals being dealt out by the refs, but in any case, a throw, a lift, some kind of violation was called on Phoenix Volleyball Club. Point C2, they lead 7-3, 7-4 on the cut. That is chundered off the block, and this time the point does go to the Phoenix. They'll serve trailing by 2 at 5-7. Gotta say, I like the convention center here, Huntington Convention Center in downtown Cleveland. Looks like we're right next door to the Browns Stadium. I think there's a game here tomorrow, so that should make parking pretty exciting. Indians Stadium and the Babs Stadium just within a few block radius, so it seems like a pretty fun downtown area. It's my first visit to Cleveland, and despite the unfavorable comparison to Clearwater, I like it. That's just a bit long. Point for C2, they lead now 9-5. Nice top spin, but right at the lip. Oh, an overpass, and that's harvested by Briley in a 10-5. Thought the lib had made a good pass there, but as it drifted into C2 territory, it was summarily dispatched. By the erstwhile blonde bomber. 10-5. There's an ace, as that one is chundered off the platform of the Phoenix passer and into the adjoining court. Point C2, they're out to a comfortable lead at 11-5. Takes that one down the line and blows up the lid for the ace. 12-5. I may have misjudged the potential threat that caused by the youngsters behind us. They seem to be thrashing balls onto our court willy-nilly. Putting our high-tech broadcasting apparatus at risk. Nice tip. What a score, and C2 rolling 13-5. And a timeout on the floor. All right, back underway, and yet a football called. I did not see that one coming. I'm not saying it didn't happen. Just saying it didn't happen. No, kid. 6 serving 13. Out to Riley. That's hammered down. And now C2 will serve with a 14-6 lead. Row, it finds the floor. Thought it was down before C2 player came under the net, it seemed like. Football already down, so no harm, no foul. 15 serving 6. Ball on the court. We're going to do that one over. Drops into shorty, so C2 recording at least 3 aces so far. A couple on the jump serve that were fairly wicked, and then that one on the show tie. 16-6, 10-point C2 lead. Another shorty coming in. That one's fielded reasonably cleanly. The power dink is thrown down for the point. And Phoenix will serve. Trailing by 9 at 7-16. Nice diving scoop there as Riley decided to get out of the way of the blocking duties, thinking he might be going for the tool. Nice coverage on the defense though. Pushes the C2 lead to 10 at 17-7. Serve that grabs some net cord and trickled down, but a good play by Phoenix keeping that alive. Riley tools that off the block, off the antenna, and out of play. 18-7 lead now for C2. That one fails to meet the minimum height requirements. No roller coasters at Cedar Point. Phoenix serving by at 18-8. They trail by 10. Lost track of that one. Not sure if it was blocked back or never cleared. In any case, point for C2. Yes. They lead by 11 at 19-8. Riley back to serve. He's going to be on the jumpy. And a nice jumpy it is. Picks up the ace. C2 rolling at 20-8. Nice job on the beach with the jump serve last week, especially on that line shot. Gotta go in there. That one's just a bit long. And a 21-8 lead. Just noticing that molten ball we're playing with is a little bit unusual, and then instead of a red, white, and blue, it is red, white, and black, and I kind of like the look. Not to be unpatriotic or anything, just saying. It's the aesthetic. 9 serving 21 now as Phoenix with a hill to climb if they want to get back into this one. Nice work there, ladled over and finding the float. Nope. Good net violation called. So scratch that. Point Phoenix. Will serve trailing by 11 at 10-21. That one is shundered into the abyss. Point for C2. That'll make it 22-10. And another foot fault called. (11:22). All the service errors, the foot fault probably the most vexing. And we've got a pair of them. Nice work there. Nice up by the defense for Phoenix, though. They laid it over. Free ball. Sound the feasting horn. Back row swing for Riley, but that's thundered into the net. And a point for the Phoenix. Off the net, kept alive, but only briefly. Dirty ace, 13:22. Back set blasted down the line, and the lid can't handle the heat. 23-13, 10-point C2 lead. We're in the closing stages of set one. First match of 3 on the day in pool play at the Nike Freeze Fest here in Cleveland, Ohio. They'll serve, trailing by a Googleplex at 14-23. Drilled down, and that'll bring up set point for C2. They'll serve with a 10-point cushion, 24-14. High hands. I don't think the Jolly Green Giant was going to touch that. Certainly no C2 attack players did. That'll put set one in the books. C2 wins, pulling away at 25-14. Set two is coming up. I like the layout here at the Cleveland Convention Center. It's a little more cozy than most. You can reach into the courts fairly easily. Approximately 20 teams in the 17 Open division. There may be another hall of courts on the other side of the place, so it's a little bit bigger spread than first meets the eye, but we're well positioned close to all the things. Two-day format for this tournament. I think Louisville is a 3-day format. Should probably figure out if that's true, and if so, if that's Friday through Saturday or Sunday rather, or Saturday. In any case, the teams are back on the court for set two. C2 attack won the opener handily. Our understanding is Colin will be available next week in Louisville. I'm not sure about Peyton. I believe that's accounts for all of our missing teammates at the moment. And we send our greetings to those two in case they're tuning in. Looks like we're about to get underway, but there's about something. Unclear whether they're just rapping about stuff or trying to figure out rotation or... You know, salt and pepper shakers make a lovely gift. Okay, well, the Bureau checking in now. It looks like maybe they are ready to roll. Ish. All right, huzzah. Set 2 is ready for liftoff, and it's lifted off. Unfortunately, it did not lift off well, and chundered into the net. Definitely an opportunity to clean up some of the service. We've had 2 foot faults and then a couple into the net. At least if you serve long, there's the off chance the other team will help you out. Riley bangs that down to deep middle. Point C2, they're on the board, and the score is tied at 1. Riley back to serve. Let's see if he stays on the jumpy. Banged a couple nice ones in his first serving foray. We're seeing Jakai's first action of the day as he steps in up front. And an ace. Nice top spin to deep middle. C2 in front, 2-1. Six, 7. R2 pushing back our teammates a bit. Ace number 2 for Riley. Same spot, similar result. 3-1 lead here in the early going. Early going of set 2, that is. That one into the net. A fair exchange, 2 aces, 1 error. Looks we're ahead of the equation. Serving 3 kicks. Tie from the right side. With the score. Four, 2. Ladled over, free ball. Sound the feasting horn. Off the block and out of play, point C2. Lead is now 3 at 5-2. Nice swing there. Finds the floor inbounds. 3 serving 5. Back row swing, right at the lid, nice up. That's off the block and out of play, point Cleveland. Good play by the Cleveland team. I should call them the Phoenix, I guess. They continue to befuddle me with what the name is. Boom! Nice rip there. This is C2 in front by 2 at 6-4, and Jakai by serve. Looked good until it didn't. Nice high contact point, but it just kind of continued to float and finally sailed out the back door. Phoenix laid off of it. They'll serve trailing to 1 at 5-6. Net probably gets a piece. Nice up and a roll shot to the floor. Well done, snatching victory from the jaws of defeat on that one. Restores the C2 lead to 2. The serve at 7-5. Big rip there, but into the net. Point Phoenix. They're within 1 at 6-7. Broadcast booth narrowly missed disaster there. Nice swing off the block and down. Point C2. The lead is 2 at 8-6. Contact issue for Cleveland, or the land as they're calling themselves, but we're just going to go with Phoenix. Riley one hands the overpass down. C2 lead now up to 4 at 10-6. Nice swing down the line, off the defender and out of play, point Phoenix. Swing deep into 6. 10-7 C2. Five-point lead. Look, we do the math, so you don't have to. This back row power throw coming. Results in an overpass, and Riley harvests that with a double stuff. Kind of like an Oreo, the double stuff. All right. Phoenix call a timeout, 13-7. Team C2 with not too much to say. They're out of timeout briskly. Phoenix following suit. Riley into the block. That's thrown down. Nicely penetrated. Up and over. Point for Phoenix. They'll serve trailing by 5 at 8:13. Nice work. Riley coming into the middle, made a little adjustment on the approach, and it worked well. How's he banging that down? Channeling his sister's approach adjustment skills. 14-8. Riley back to serve. That's into the net. That's 2 in a row. With that same result, so generally a toss or contact point issue at play there, as that one's in the middle of the net. At least the tape shot has a chance of rolling over. More likely if it's the upper tape than the lower tape, mind you. It seems like 17 contacts, but I guess we must have touched it somewhere along the way. Jakai with an exclamation point, and we may need to take a moment to replace all divots. Maybe more of a dimple than a divot. But. All right, 15-9 now, 6-point C2 lead. Nice block there, kept alive though. Free ball, however. And it looked like a big block. No, it came down. I was off, maybe off his head. I'm not sure. At first, I thought with the reaction that the Phoenix had maybe gotten the block, but in retrospect, I'm thinking that might have been off the Phoenix player's head. May have. It looked like he was trying to adjust the contact or something. Anywho, point C2, apparently not a block. And instead of 16-9 lead, that's in play. On the quick. Not Howells, how many. He didn't probably get as much as he was looking for, but a bit of a fingertip waffle. It scores though, kind of turned into a deceptive off-speed shot. I don't think by design, but who am I to say? There was a miscommunication on who was going to take that set, but it all worked out in the end. Back row, Riley bangs that down. And a point for C2. Lead is now surged to 9 at 18-9. Off the block. Nice job there, turning it down the line. Point C2, they're up by a bunch. I believe that's 20-9 there. It's a score change, but maybe average 18. I think that was going to make it over, but it did. Shoot set over. That's fielded. That's off the candy cane. Point C2, and now it's 20-9. 11-point C2 advantage. Blocked back, kept alive. Nice swing for the point. All right, Phoenix back to serve in a bit of a chasm. So trailing by 10 at 10-20, doubled him up. This back set to Jakai. That's blocked down, though. Oh, no, it's not. Wow, okay. I guess that snuck inside. I really thought it came down on our side. I was like, oh, nice block. Apparently it leaked through. 11 serving 21, or no, make that 21 serving 11 there on the ace. All right, I am totally baffled and need to get more coffee. 11 serving 21, and apparently that was a point. Phoenix. Ball on the floor. We're going to do that one over. Pretend it never even happened. The power throw of power throws, and I kind of like it. 22-11. Nice work out of the middle. Back set quick, no block. Well, if there was a block, we were a bit late to the party. 23-11. C2 honing in on the opening match win. It's off the block. Riley keeps it alive. Nice up off the floor. Nice hustle on the Phoenix side, but all for naught as they fail to get that back over the net. Match point now at 24-11. Nice pass by the lib for Phoenix. That's off the block and off the candy cane. Point Phoenix, they'll serve down by a dozen. Not a baker's dozen though. So there is that. 12 serving 24. Off the block, kept alive. And we got a ball on the floor that will interrupt play and cause a redo. That's going to be two in a row as went for the dump on the tight pass, but it was into the tape and then contacted again by the center. Riley, nice rip there, but it's up. However, a lift called, and that'll do it. Point goes to C2. They win the opening match here in the Nike Fuse Fest in 2. They'll play again at 10, a sit one, play one continuum. So we'll be back in roughly an hour with match 2 of 3 scheduled for today. So we'll see you then. Thanks for joining for breakfast in the frozen tundra of Cleveland. All right. Until next time, we are signing off.